Hello, Internet.
What up?
Do you like scary movies?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Do you like scary movie directors? Well, this is the place for you right here on Rotten Potatoes. All the hits, all the time. Welcome to Rotten Potatoes. I'm Dr. Paul.
I'm Diet Dr. Paul. The same Dr. Paul, just less calories.
That sounds good. I'll have that.
Tastes great, less filling. Father, son, boomer, millennial, talking about movies, talking about pop culture, talking about model making, all kinds of films, and we are back with a 7. What's a 7? What is a 7?
The number of the day is 7.
It is one more than 6.
So,
And it's a
everybody-
list of movies that we do that we go to 7.
Yes.
Or movie related things.
Tell me, do you know what I'm going to say?
No,
Do I know what you're going to say?
I have no clue.
No.
You know nuts. He's crazy.
And today we're talking about the greatest horror movie directors of all time.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
I'm going to piss a lot of people off, as per usual, especially you.
Why? Oh, because you're going to not put people on there. You're not going to pay tribute to the horror DNA.
No, I'm going to let you know who the true goats of the game, who the baddest are.
Well, I just think.
Well, you know, I was thinking when I looked over my honorable mentions that clearly that's probably going to wind up being your top 7.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
So I made a conscious decision in mind, unlike when we did our film score episode, that I didn't want to have one composer more than once. So I tried to take a composer and pick their best film score. I did the same thing with this as well. So I have 7 totally different directors, and then had to pick, well, of that director, what would that person's been, that they've been their best films.
Oh, you pick like a best movie to go with them?
Well, that's impossible to do, but I picked, and sometimes it's a group of films that I thought were really the best. Do you have honorable mentions on yours?
About who, my honorable mention for my directors?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. I had a couple that I really wanted to put on here, but 2 horror movies, even at a young career, is just not enough. And so that was going to be Damien Rugna, who has done When Evil Lurks, and Terrified, which is now on Pluto. Check it out. It's the bee's knees. If you liked When Evil Lurks, you'll like this. It starts so unassumingly, but that's for another day. And then my boy Pascal Lafayette, who did The Martyrs and Incident in a Ghostland, who are both movies that were in my top 7 most scary films of all time, part 1 and part 2. And then my boy Sam Raimi.
I am on the wrong episode. I can tell already.
Why? What's up?
Because
What'd you pick?
you're mentioning people that I don't even know their. I mean, I saw the film, but I never thought.
But
of
those are
them.
my honorable mentions.
I know. Well, my honorable mentions, Robert Wise, for The Haunting,
Okay.
Audrey Rose, great book, Dario Argento,
Dario is almost on my honorable
Lucio
mentions.
Fulci,
Yeah.
Sam Raimi, Roger Corman, Wes Craven.
Yeah, those are all great. You also want to keep, I kept in mind too, as I didn't want to stray too far away, because we just recently did Best Director and you picked Hitchcock. We did Best Horror Director and you picked Romero and I picked Craven. And this was less than 6 to 8 months ago, so I didn't want to be too untrue to myself.
But that was a Mount Rushmore.
And
Okay, I'm just saying. All right,
the Mount Rushmore,
I know.
still the top
GOAT.
4.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, I didn't want to stray too far away from that.
Let me ask you this.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Okay,
You need to ask me a question.
I do.
All right, that's it. Now it's my turn. 5 minutes alone. That's all I need.
Of all of the directors on your list, how many of them made a movie that was in black and white?
3,
Okay.
maybe 4.
Maybe I'm not in the wrong episode. All right. Start us off. young
Number 7, David Cronenberg. My boy. He's done some very good films that don't get credit. Rabid, great film. The Brood, Scanners, super underrated movies. I also gave him credit for films that were not horror films where he flashed his ability to do horrific things. Eastern Promises and A History of Violence, 2 of my favorite action movies. I love those movies. But then you got the big boys, what put him over the top and onto this list. And that's The Fly and Videodrome. The Fly is the year I was born and is one of the best creature features to exist, maybe second to John Carpenter's The Thing. And I know you're not as big on Videodrome as I am, but I love Videodrome.
You didn't mention his star turn in Jason X.
No, I did not. I did not mention his acting in Nightbreed either. He plays the doctor in that.
I thought of him. He just didn't. I mean, his films don't resonate as much. I think Fly was. I liked Fly better than I liked Videodrome.
I know.
So,
I know these things.
Yes.
I'm aware.
Okay. All right. Well, that's an interesting number 7.
If you said to say he was going to be, if you had to number him just randomly off the top of your head, where you think he would fall in your horror directors?
he wouldn't be in my top 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ouch. Damn.
Well, I'm curious whether my number 7 is on your list at all, and it is William Castle. No William Castle. Even though we went to Wonderfest, go back and watch our Wonderfest things. Amazing. Joe Dante's Matinee film, which is really sort of about him, didn't appear on your list at all. This is the guy. We got House on Haunted Hill, 13 Ghosts, his greatest film, which is Tingler. He did Mr. Sardonicus. This is the guy who made horror movies fun. All right. He was a master of marketing and helping people to anticipate the scare experience. Up until this point, horror movies were just simply throwaways. It was something that was, as a teenage audience, a lot of drive-in, films, kind of like just get people's seats in there. He turned it into an experience where it was horror. This is where the birth of fanboys, I believe. And I think we would not have horror movies, the appreciation we have for it right now, or fanboys in general with it, without him. He's really, we owe a great debt of gratitude to William Castle.
That's why you're here. Because I didn't know that. Dropping knowledge. Knowledge bomb.
Okay.
William Castle. No, William Castle was not on my list. All right. So that was your number 7. This
Yes.
is my number 6. I would want to put you higher, but you got to put your time in. That's all I'm saying, my guy. Number 6 is going to be Ari Aster. Recently, I saw his first short film. That man had some childhood trauma that I needed a shower after watching that short film. It's in essence, it's about a son who is in love with his dad. It's just a different film, but Hereditary, Midsommar, Beau is Afraid. I like Midsommar more every time I watch it. I like Beau is Afraid more every time I watch it. And Hereditary, if Martyrs and The Exorcist weren't such traumatic experiences for me the first time I watched them, that might be my favorite horror film, but it just didn't hit me at the right age. And then he's got his new movie coming out that's in post-production called Eddington. Listen who's in this movie, who's getting ready to come out in this movie. Austin Butler, Fade Routha from every movie that's coming out lately, the Bike Riders, Emma Stone, who just won an Academy Award, Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal. Those are just the 4 top guys. There's a bunch more people in there. I didn't want to type everybody's name, but it's going to be a banger. Look out.
You keep bringing him up.
I
mean,
do.
I don't think I could get all the way through Hereditary. I really don't think I did.
Yeah.
Never
your
watched
problem,
Beau
no,
is Afraid.
He's afraid to watch Beau.
I think so. No, but you clearly, this is another one. Is like you talk about Revenant and like over and over again in episodes. And they say the thing with Ari Aster. When you say him, every time I have the same experience. When you say it, I'm thinking, who is this guy? What films did he direct? And you'll tell what the film's like. Oh, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Next time you bring him up, I'm going to go through the same thing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with
It
that.
just doesn't.
I won't remember William Castle the first time you say it either.
But you said, did you ever see Tingler?
I mean, I know the Tingler movie. I can't remember if I've seen it all the way through or not.
Okay. All right.
Traumatized child.
Number 6 for me, Alfred Hitchcock. Right?
That low down your list?
Yes. Yeah, it is. I mean, you've got Bird.
So you're saying that he's a better director than a horror director?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes, I never thought of it that way, but I think he's a good director. And I think a good director should be able to do any genre. That's why I keep saying, I want to see Scorsese do a superhero film. No, he is. I think he's somebody that he taught directors how to build tension in a scene.
Abso-flippin'-lutely.
I think he and how you include the audience. You telegraph to the audience what's going to happen so they know it and they're feeling the tension, and the folks on the screen don't know what the audience knows. He certainly taught directors the singular importance of editing. And that's probably his greatest contribution to film. And horror movies are all about editing. A great editing will make a great horror film, and so because of that, he's on my list.
Yeah, I agree. Great filmmaker.
Is he on your list?
Maybe, maybe not. We'll see.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
All right.
It's potential. There's potential there.
Okay.
So I'll say that. So that was your number
6.
Number 6. So my number 5. I do like Hitchcock though. Big fan. But my number 5 is going to be. Some people would consider him to be the greatest of all time. I don't have him as high as a lot of people. That's going to be John Carpenter. Obviously, we have Halloween, amazing. The Thing is probably my favorite. I really love They Live. I really love Big Trouble in Little China. I really like JC's Vampires. I like In the Mouth of Madness. Prince of Darkness is okay. The Fog is pretty good, but very consistent. His run from like 78 to 90 is probably the best there is. And yeah.
You never mentioned They Live?
I did.
Oh, you did? How about Village of the Damned?
No, I didn't put Village of the Damned.
Mm-hmm.
Not my favorite. It's he did the remake version, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
Christopher
with
Reeve.
Christopher Reeves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. No. That's good. I mean, your placement of him, I think, is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people I think would hate me for him being that low, but I just don't have the same affinity for a lot of his movies as some people.
Yeah.
I think the older I get, the more I actually appreciate Halloween.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about Halloween on this show. I mean, I don't know how many times, and what he does and what he brought to that. And actually, your sort of where you place him is a good transition for me, and for my number 5, which is William Friedkin. And you think about it, he really only has one horror film under his belt. And what you said earlier, like, you need to have a few more, but because of the singular importance of the one film that he did bring to the horror community, The Exorcist.
I almost considered him.
He has to be on there. I mean, it really is. It is iconic, and I love the work that he did. I love French Connection. I love.
He gets points for his ability in French Connection to bring out the thriller elements in it. So if he maybe had one more horror movie, even if it was like just decent, I could have easily put him on my list.
Well, when I saw French Connection in the theater, it's terrifying. The drive, the chase scene alone. I mean, that will match any scare that you're going to get. I mean, your heart's pounding kind of stuff. It's not a horror movie, but it's certainly scary from that standpoint. But he's got to be in that list just because of that one. To leave him off would have been a travesty.
At least one of us put him there, so now I don't feel bad about it.
Well, good.
Great movie, though.
Yep.
I'll fight you if you say that's not a good movie. All right, number 4, Alfred Hitchcock. I gave him credit for being, again, it's for the things outside of horror that he does well that aren't directly horror elements, and his ability to tension build with the way he tells stories. It used to be like, if you didn't see it, you're scared of it. But he's like, no, if you see it, that's how you know to be scared of something. So there's a big difference when I write or when I try to come up with stuff in that realm. I really think about that a lot. So he played a big part in that, but I'm just a big fan of him. We did The Birds in school when I was a kid, and I really liked that movie. Psycho doesn't get the credit that it deserves for being as good a film as it is, and for being such a like guerrilla filmmaking. Even though he's a very tight filmmaker, it was very much guerrilla filmmaking, and it's just he deserves to be on here.
You know, it's a great film. That and Night of the Living Dead, when the two remakes of those two films are almost shot for shot duplications, you realize the how he composed the scenes and how the editing was great. So all you did was just change the actors. You know,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
the shower scene is still, when you ask people, they'll say it's one of the most visceral scenes they've ever watched. And if you really go back and watch it, it's really not much to it.
No, it's not. It's
Some
perfect.
flash cuts and some chocolate syrup going down the drain. That's it.
Yeah,
And some screams.
and some good music.
That shrieking, that
Yep. It's interesting, you and I, in terms of how we place, because we really are very close. Your number, what was your number 5?
My number 5 was JC, John Carpenter.
And my number 4 is John Carpenter. And with exactly the same thing that you mentioned, I kind of look at with William Castle, he sort of brought the child part of me into horror films. And I think what John Carpenter did is brought horror into its adolescent. And so you have the
So
sexual
you're saying
tension
William
kind of
Castle
stuff.
touched you as a child? Sorry, William.
No. I think that John Carpenter brought that sexual tension and that adolescence. And I think like Hitchcock, he also sort of brought the importance to film score. And I love the fact that, I mean, he's a musician, and a lot of the film themes that he composed that are so iconic, you know,
Halloween. I love that theme.
and Escape from New York.
Boom.
Yeah, just amazing. He's
Oh, that score from that movie is alone enough to watch that film.
yeah. Which one are you talking about?
Escape from New York.
Yeah, yeah. And then they did it again with Escape from L.A., which was sort of it really was an L.A. version. It was, you know, the change the theme kind of thing. Yeah, good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
I think Shudder uses the Thing's theme for their theme. Bum bum. Bum bum.
And I believe Ennio Morricone did the score from Thing. We need to check.
We are
that.
just dropping knowledge bombs all across America.
all right.
That was your number 4.
That was my number 4. Now I'm gonna
number 3.
yes, show some
Sorry.
love.
Sorry, pal. You've been dethroned. Wes Craven is number 3. He was number 1 on my list not many months ago. And it's him, really put him and John Carpenter right next to one another a lot of time. But the difference being, I like Nightmare on Elm Street. I like People Under the Stairs. I like New Nightmare. I love Scream 2, 3, 4. Red Eye gives me total points for that film. I watched that the other day, and I didn't realize he was the director of it. Such a good film that's not a horror film. The Hills Have Eyes.
Last House on the Left.
Last House on the
That's
Left.
hard to watch.
Oh, it is very hard to watch, but he just is like John Carpenter, but a little more visceral and a little less teeny bopper, but very similar.
If you have William Castle, the childhood, you have John Carpenter, the adolescent, is Wes Craven, the adult.
I
And
think
you
Wes
can't
Craven
get a
is
more
the
adult
college
film
student.
than Last House on the Left.
John Carpenter is the middle school, high schooler. Wes Craven is the college kid. He's a little bit older, a little bit more visceral.
So who is the senior citizen? The
Maybe we'll
retirement
find that
home?
out later.
Okay. All
But
right.
I think Scream has a lot to do with him being so high on my list. Is that's such a great film.
In some ways, it saved horror. I mean,
It
horror was
absolutely did.
It was a dying.
It absolutely
It was a
did.
dying genre,
And
so-
it still thumps to this day. This last Scream film was my 3rd favorite movie from this past year, ratings wise.
It almost wound up on my list of worst franchises because
because now we would have had a murder here.
no, I
The
just
second episode we would have ever cut off and never used.
I really don't. My number 3, and I'm going to be shocked if it's not on your list, Jordan Peele. Mm-hmm.
Not on my list.
You're lying to me.
Not on my list.
Really?
Not on
Nope.
my list. Nope.
Get Out.
Get out.
Us. Get Out.
Get out.
I'm shocked. I mean, he made horror surprising.
Oh, I love
again.
him. It's not because I don't like him. He needs a little bit more. He suffers from the same thing Ari Aster suffers from. Is they're just so new to the genre. He's the same. I've like,
He's never done a bad film.
but he's not. But he's only done like 3 movies. That's the difference.
Didn't he also do
He's
the?
produced a few things.
Did he do the reboot of the Candyman?
He produced it.
Okay, yeah.
That's the difference. Is he's got his name on quite a few things because he's produced a bunch extra, and that's not what this is about. If this was about just as a filmmaker in general, then I probably would have had to put him on this list as like the best horror filmmakers or whatever, you know.
I think that there are people who approach horror and think it's an easy genre that there obviously horror has a great fan base, and there are people think, oh man, I wish I could make a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's more difficult, I think, to make a good horror movie than it is to make other genres.
Absolutely.
And what he does is he doesn't spoon feed you anything. He makes you work for it. He is really, as a director, you know, he doesn't explain things. You can go in and watch it and say, well, what did this mean? What did that mean? And he says, I'm just making a movie that I wanna make, and the audiences are finding it. You know, he's not one that for just doing jump scares and all of the tropes that go with horror films. It's really surprising, and it's also about something.
I'm going to say something that may ruffle some feathers for some people. He's the closest living director we have right now to Stanley Kubrick.
The internet just broke.
I mean it. I really do. I love him. He would probably be like 9 or 10, and it's just strictly because he doesn't have a lot under his belt. But I love him, and partial the reason why I love him is because out of all of his movies, I've only liked one of them coming out of the theater. Everything else, I've actually hated, did not like Nope coming out of the theater. I was pissed off coming out of the theater. I hated it. But again, he made you work for it. I gave him a chance, and I realized how great those films were. And it wasn't because someone told me they were good. I see why they're good films now.
Well, Mr. Peele, we both love you. I loved you enough to actually put you on my list of top 7. So,
I guess if you want to call him.
all right.
But yeah, I'm a big fan. Get Out. That's a movie right there.
It
man.
is surprising, shockingly good.
And that's why it was so good. So
Okay.
unexpected. I was working at a hotel when that movie came out, and I stayed like an extra hour and a half late to watch the rest of the movie on the computer because it was that good. All right. That
We
was
are
your
getting
number-
into that was my number 3. We are in the cream to the cream.
number 2.
Yeah. We're talking now.
In
Great.
maybe 2 months. Maybe he could be number 1. Ty West.
Who?
Exactly.
Who?
Ty West, baby. His first film was called House of the Devil, and then he did Innkeepers. He also, and can't believe I didn't say this when we were talking about Travolta, but he did In the Valley of Vengeance. He directed that, the movie with the dog and Ethan Hawke. That was one of his first movies. He did VHS, The Second Honeymoon, The Sacrament. He did X. He did Pearl. He did a bunch of episodes of They Scare. He doesn't have the length, but everything he's done has been amazing. And it's only getting better. I'm telling you. You don't believe me, you're going to go on there and be like, Paul, what the flip did you just say? What vomit came out of your mouth? Go away. But believe me, he's the second best horror director alive.
You have him higher than John Carpenter.
Yep.
You have him higher than Alfred Hitchcock.
Yep.
You didn't even have William Castle on your list.
Who?
You have him higher than Wes Craven.
I do. But he's not the highest on the list.
Your horror movie fan badge is
been
being
revoked.
revoked. You are no longer allowed to watch any more horror films.
The
In fact,
quality of if you're looking at like from the overhead view here, he's never made a bad movie. All of his movies are stellar. There's like a 5.5 on Innkeepers. What movie were y'all watching?
that's the black and white one, right?
No, Innkeepers don't like white.
That was the
It's about this couple that they own a hotel and they're getting ready to sell it, I believe. Sell it, or they just bought it, I can't remember. and they start experiencing some ghostly activity. It's very subtle, but it's kind of like, I think maybe gets lost between genres. People don't know what genre it's a part of.
That's it. It got lost between genres. I will be conducting interviews for a new son and new partner here on Rotten Potatoes.
Hopefully you know how to edit.
That. Oh my goodness gracious!
I've ruined whatever credibility I had earned to this point. Is
You
just
did-
gone now.
You really you. I don't even know if I can finish this episode
That's okay.
because this is the heart of horror. These last two on my
The
list.
Heart of Horror.
It is. Number 2.
Number 2. George Romero.
Where's it at? Terrence Fisher.
Never heard of him.
Terrence Fisher.
Never heard of him.
We would not be sitting here today talking about horror
Searching for Terrence Fisher.
if we did not have Terrence. I mean, look,
Well, I know a movie he did. He did Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Yes.
Yes. That's the guy. I knew that. I was
Horror
just playing. I was
Dracula.
pretending. I knew this.
Curse of Frankenstein, Brides of Dracula, Curse of the Werewolf, The Mummy,
I
The
like Curse of the
Devil
Werewolf.
Rides Out.
The Curse of the Werewolf.
I mean, he pretty much owned Hammer Film. And if we didn't have Hammer Film,
Hammer Film is on fire right now, aren't they? Oh, wait. They're not around anymore. What happened to them?
they're still in.
Did he run them into the ground?
No, he's dead. He passed away. Hammer Film is still.
Yeah, okay.
No.
What an excuse to stop making movies. What an excuse.
There is no singular director that has had a larger repertoire of classic horror films than Terrence
Even
Fisher.
more than
Yes.
Hitchcock?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Think so?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Hitchcock's got a bunch,
in terms
man.
of his entire repertoire.
So is this
all
more of
those
a
film?
quantity over quality thing?
No.
I'm not being like sarcastic.
No. Because those ones that I mentioned, those are the best Hammer films that were ever made. I mean, he in a time where horror movies were throwaways, right? It's like, oh, who can we get it? He made a career out of, and in terms of things like set design and score and the cast of actors that he used on a regular basis in his films, nothing short of amazing. And I'm telling you, Hammer Film, for people my generation, I believe you wouldn't even be sitting here talking about horror films if it wasn't for Hammer Films. I'm telling you, that was the birth of horror in America, even though it's a British company. Yep. He should be number one, actually.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
So you don't even believe
And he's not on your list.
He doesn't even believe in his choice.
He's
enough
not
to
even
put
on
him
your
in.
list, is he?
No.
And of all of those movies, I mean, how many Hammer films have
I've seen enough of them.
you make it sound like
I don't watch a ton of those films. If I'm going to watch an older film from black and white, I really like the
most of
schlock
these were in color.
from that era, Technicolor, whatever you want to call it. I prefer the older schlocky sci-fi movies, like the aliens and the monsters, the big giant whatever. I
Rubber
like,
suits.
yeah, I prefer those. I know that they're schlocky in comparison. I don't know.
There was something magical in my childhood sitting in the Southern Theater. I've talked about Southern Theater here in Columbus, Ohio, a grindhouse that Hammer Films on a regular basis, 2-3 of them together, where you'd go and see a triple feature. And for the kid in me, I remember when I took you to see Army of Darkness and that magical kind of experience that you had. If you were me, I mean, you would have in your house right now nothing but Hammer posters up.
I think it was the different type of horror film too, as there were serious horror films. And it moved into a generation of sillier horror films in the 80s and the 70s after that. I think there's just different styles of horror films, and maybe that's just why I don't like them as much. But even in retrospect, I do like elevated horror, so I don't know if that's true. I just don't know.
Well, we had an opportunity. There's a drive-in in Pennsylvania that does a horror movie marathon around September, October. And in one year, I really wanted us to go. That you can camp while you're there. They had a whole repertoire of Hammer films,
He
and
didn't
I
care
thought
enough to take us.
that would have been eye opening for you, because I just think they're amazing. They really are. And Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, was it Michael Rippert? I mean, Barbara Shelley. Oh my goodness! Just
Oh, Barbara.
we talked on our Scream Queen episode. You don't remember?
I know who she is. She's not my favorite.
Oh, she was so hot.
So that's your number 2.
That was my number 2, and I said it should be number 1.
Okay. Well, this
So
is
you
my
know
number
who's
1.
number 1 gonna be.
And it's my own dang fault. I'm so good. It's the reason why this one's number 1. And I'll tell you, it's from the editing that we did on his episode. It's going to be M. Night Shyamalan. And there's so much about his films that I love beyond horror, that transcend genre, that his films have a magic about them, and it's truly what makes watching movies the best. Did you pick M. Night Shyamalan number 1 too? Did you? No, you did not. No, you didn't.
It's not even on my list. Not even in my honorable mentions.
No. What?
Was he on your Mount Rushmore?
What do we do Mount Rushmore of?
Horror directors, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I told you it's changed. That episode changed things. Why are you upset?
I just don't. I don't.
But again, you don't care about movies like Split or Glass or Old. I love those movies. Lady in the Water, Trap is coming out, Knock on the Cabin. He's got like
I like Knock at the Cabin.
Sixth Sense, Signs, Unbreakable, Knock at the Cabin, all 9s out of 10s or close to 9 out of 10s for me. Split, Glass, Old, 6.5, 7 out of 10. Lady in the Water, 6 out of 10. Village, 7 out of 10. I mean, he's just great. He's consistent, but it's his willingness to step outside of the expected, and it's not in line with everything else that you see coming out in Hollywood, and that's why he's number 1. Because he's just different. What's your freak frag left for fly, my brother?
That was your number 1.
Numero unt.
And who was your number 2? Ty West?
Ty West. Ty Weezy.
I'd like to apologize to the internet. I tried to raise him right. I did. I tried to expose him to
Genetics can be an issue.
the horror film DNA, sci-fi DNA, comic book movies. He said
Who
his
should
favorite.
be number 1 then? George Romero. He did 3 freaking movies in his life.
Well, William Friedkin did 1, and he wound up on my list because
Yeah,
of
and
what
nobody's saying that was
he
a
did.
smart move.
He did more than
I don't want to
than
hear
3.
about Survival of the Dead or Diary of the Dead, where he was a producer.
No.
He did 3 good movies.
No, he.
Land of the Dead doesn't count.
I
Land of the
think
Dead wasn't very good.
why he is number 1.
Dawn of the Dead's amazing.
It is
My favorite.
but he also made horror movies about something. He made it so that they weren't throwaways, that they were about race, or they're about social class or consumerism and isolation and this whole notion of classism. That just it's how you could take a movie and have it operate on more than one level. And, some of his movies, if you watch them, even the special visual effects, when you watch Dawn of the Dead, the color palette in that is you look at it's kind of awkward looking, but it has its own charm. I'm telling you, when you think about horror movies right now, you have slashers and zombies. That's kind of where, of course, now we're into this whole, nuns and priests and all that kind of stuff. And, but most people, I think, came to horror, modern folks, through the Scream and through zombies. We have zombies has just become we used to have werewolves and mummy and creature and vampires. The reason now that zombies are part of that, we have a zombie under Plague of the Zombies with Hammer film. It did not resonate until this guy right here, until George Romero. He is the single best horror director that has ever
I just don't
worked.
see how you can say that he's better than Hitchcock.
Well, because I mean, Hitchcock is a better director than he is. He's a better horror director than Hitchcock.
I mean, I love Romero. He was a potential. He was close.
and he wasn't even on your list.
He was very, very. He was made it through many a cut.
Well, because M. Night and Ty West.
It came.
you know,
It honestly came down to him and Hitchcock. Like, which one's going to be on the list? Which one am I going to leave off? And he lost because he has 3 zombie movies that were good, and that was it.
again, I looked at the DNA of horror and sort of how it sort of.
Which means he's just right and I'm wrong.
Well, okay, you heard it. No, I just think it's like I mean, because we've said it 100 times on here. You're younger, you see things more from your generation, and I see it more from my generation. I mean, I don't know. There's very many people your age that have, I mean, I love those directors and those films and that work enough that I have it on my wall for crying out loud. I love Hammer, and I love.
No, that's a good movie right there, yo.
It is, and
It's
it's
one of my favorites.
autographed, baby.
I've got like a special edition of that.
Yeah. So this is it's a hard topic. And
It's a lot.
I hope, I worry about the future of horror, and I'm not as optimistic as you are. So with people like a Ty West or an Ari,
Astor.
Harry, whatever.
Ari Aster.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that somebody steps up, but my
We'll find
fear
out with
is
Maxine here soon.
we are, and I've seen the preview from that. Looks really good. The new Nosferatu, I don't know who directs that, but
Robert Eggers.
yeah,
Northman, Lighthouse.
that's the one that I thought you were talking about earlier, black and white.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is brilliant looking. You gotta watch it.
I'm going to
It's just
Yeah, I don't usually just hunt trailers like a lot of people, and sometimes I don't even know when they drop.
Heather and I went and saw Bike Riders
And?
yesterday,
And
and they showed that as the preview.
well, was Bike Riders any good?
Yes, it's
Mini review. Mini
It's-
review.
It's really, really good. It seems important. I didn't realize
It
so
did
much.
strike me as something that would be potentially come award seasoning.
It's
worthy.
based on a book, which I didn't know, and it's based on a book of photographs that somebody took of gangs, and they interviewed them, and I'm thinking, and because of that, there's a sense of reality that goes with it. Performances are amazing in it. It doesn't pander to the audience. It's not what you think. I mean, there was a whole range of these bicycle movies, bike gang movies going up, exploitation films in the 60s and 70s. It doesn't play to that. It's a family drama, and very, very well made, and kind of sad. The young lady who stars in it, she steals the show, and the guy who I'm horrible with
Austin Butler?
No, he's good, but he doesn't have anything to do other than smoke cigarettes.
I figured he just
The-
looked pretty there.
Yeah, he does, and he does look pretty. But the other,
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, which I've never been a Tom Hardy fan.
I like him a lot.
He is absolutely staggering good in this.
He's in The Revenant, man.
Is he?
Mhm.
Does he play the bear?
No, but I think he should have won an Academy Award for The
I
Revenant.
think I've heard you say that. So, no, yeah, go see it. A lot of good stuff coming out.
From a scale of 1 to 10.
I give it an 8.
Ooh, an 8 out of 10 from Dr. Paul. Excuse me.
Yeah.
From the original, the
Yeah,
OG. That's
and
good.
the more that I think about it, because that's what I like. You see a movie, and then you continue, let it mull, and let it simmer with you. There's the way that it ends. There's a lot of discussion in like, what does the ending mean? And I love those kind of films. And I just read today that it's really based on real people, real lives, and the Austin Butler and the young lady, apparently they had a child, and during the Hollywood premiere of the film, that son shows up, and he gave a note to pass the note along, and they've given it to the director, and so he's been interviewing him.
Mhm.
And that's going to lend some credibility. It's like, well, what really happened to these characters in the end? What does it mean? And so I'm really, it has a life of it, and I predict that the book, that the photographs of these, and there'll be a resurgent. People will
Probably.
yeah. I don't know whether there's going to be a resurgence of people who are like motorcycle gangs, and like cinematography, great, filmed in Cincinnati and Kentucky. So it has this this feel to it of the 60s and the 70s and but really, yeah, really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
You heard it.
Go see it. So,
So
do you have anything to say to redeem your poor taste?
go see Maxine when it comes out in. Why did I not write that down?
It does look Maxine, the trailer for that. I mean, we've
I think
said
it comes
before,
out.
looks
Well,
really
it comes
good.
out either in July or August because it comes out this summer. But you can go check that out online.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Kevin Bacon. Oh yeah.
I suspect the folks out here are probably our audience skews.
I don't think anybody on the internet believes what I just said is true.
Really?
I think most people would probably more in line with what you said. I mean, would be pissed off that I put Ty West and M. Night Shyamalan above a lot of the people that I did, but I just think that they just resonate more with me. It is what it is.
You know what I think it is? And maybe we'll just leave it at this. I think the horror community probably would line more with me. I think the film community would be more in line with you.
Yeah, maybe
People
not.
who love movies, of which they love all genres, but the horror fanboys,
I don't care if you believe me or not. That's how I feel.
now the horror community is not going to like that I had Halloween as one of the worst franchises.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. So,
Star Wars was on there too, my boy.
yeah.
And they're already stirred up like bees.
Yeah, and it depends on when we drop these episodes. It's like so. As always, we value your opinion. We value your input. We know the internet's a cold, hard place to be and can be nasty, but we appreciate. We listen to your comments. What do you think of the greatest horror directors of all time? Do we have any other Ari Aster or Ty West or Ari West or Ty? Tie them both up. Fans out there that think that he's correct in this. Do we have any Hammer lovers? Do we have any Terrence Fisher? Man, just
Maybe somebody out there who has a deeper knowledge of Asian films.
well, that's true because
Because I
we
tried to
are-
get some inclusion in there, but I've ran into a lot of directors that had one or two really good movies.
when we have people, we see our data. We have people from all over the world that watch us, and that's the day. I think we watch probably more foreign films. I know I do than I think a typical fanboy does, and I'm not afraid of. I love subtitles, that kind of stuff. So, but we do. This is a very Occidental Western culture list kind of thing, and
Yeah.
our friends, to
well,
the
it was
east.
totally an Occident.
Our friends to the east have sort of showed the U.S. how to make Godzilla films.
They
And,
showed us how to make most movies.
Oh, I'm telling you, this.
Because they don't play into politics; they just make movies over there.
Oh, it's just. I mean, I love Godzilla -1 and Shin Godzilla. I mean,
Shin Godzilla.
yeah. So, tell us what you think, and as this summer, hot time for movies. Tell us what you're looking forward to seeing this summer, and especially the genre films. We got some really interesting things coming up. M. Night's film is going to drop,
Trap.
and I'm afraid it's going to do what his daughter's film did.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I think he was too busy looking after her, or trying to hold her hand through the
Maybe,
process that his film's
yeah.
going to suffer.
Hopefully he wasn't. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Too busy
I-
with his other daughter making his movie.
Yeah. See you at the beach.
We'll see you at the movies.
Kill